glowing wings. The endless blue sky, the golden sun illuminating the earth, and a gentle breeze drifting through the clouds. In this magical world lived Ellie, a brave and imaginative pilot. Every morning, she would pull her plane out of the hangar, and the sweet hum of the engine would bring a wide smile to her face. For Ellie, the sky was not just an empty space, but a home full of adventures. One morning, as the sun rose over the mountains, Ellie stood beside her plane, taking a deep breath. She felt as free as the birds soaring in the sky, but this time, along with her familiar excitement, there was a trace of nervousness. She had decided to compete in the kingdom's annual grand air race. This race was not just a test of speed, but also of courage and skill. Standing beside Ellie was her enthusiastic and cheerful friend, Juno. Juno, a vibrant and lively ostrich with shimmering feathers, hopped with excitement. Ellie, the sky looks like it's made just for you today. The race is so close. Are you ready? She asked, flapping her wings. Ellie took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. I'm preparing, Juno. But this race makes me a bit nervous. The other pilots are so experienced and the course looks really challenging, she replied. Juno placed a comforting wing on Ellie's shoulder. Ellie, you're an amazing pilot. I believe in you. If you'll let me, I'd love to join you in this race. I can help you navigate by reading the map. Together we can do this, Juno said. Ellie paused for a moment, then smiled. Let's fly together, Juno. Sharing sky adventures with you sounds amazing. After making their decision, Ellie and Juno began preparing for the big day. The sky eagerly awaited to test their courage and spirit. And perhaps, this race would not only bring them victory, but also leave an unforgettable story of friendship in the kingdom's history. The day of the race arrived, and the kingdom's airstrip was buzzing with people. Everyone watched with excitement as the planes prepared to take off into the sky. Ellie and Juno boarded their plane, completing the final checks. Are you ready, Ellie? Juno asked. Ellie smiled confidently. Ready. The plane roared down the runway and soared into the clouds. Ellie's hands trembled slightly at first, but Juno's encouraging words reassured her. The first marker is a mountain to the right. We need to follow that route, Juno said, pointing at the map. Ellie carefully steered the plane, circling around the mountain with precision. As they approached the narrow valley, Ellie's breath quickened. The valley was a tight, shadowy passage surrounded by sharp cliffs. Seeing the narrow corridor between the rocks, Ellie turned to Juno with concern. This passage looks really dangerous. The plane might not fit. What if we crash? She said. Juno noticed the worry in Ellie's eyes and calmly replied, Ellie, this passage is difficult, but it's not impossible. This plane is safe in your hands. I trust you. Now, trust yourself and take a deep breath. Ellie took a deep breath, gripped the steering wheel firmly, and increased the plane's speed. The engine roared louder as Ellie guided the plane toward the valley. The first few meters were incredibly tight. The cliffs seemed to close in around the plane. As Ellie carefully navigated the plane, a rock broke off from above and crashed to the ground right in front of them. "Watch out! Pull slightly to the left," Juno shouted, flapping her wings with excitement. Ellie listened to Juno's warning and skillfully steered the plane away from the rocks. But as they moved deeper into the valley, the wind grew stronger, funneled through the narrow canyon. It pushed the plane from side to side like a leaf in a storm. "Ellie, use the wind. Tilt the steering wheel slightly against it and keep steady," Juno instructed, gripping the map tightly. Ellie followed Juno's advice and used the wind as a guide to stabilize the plane. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but her eyes now gleamed with determination. At one point, a flock of birds suddenly emerged from the cliffs, appearing as if they might collide with the plane. Ellie quickly ascended to avoid them. "That was way too close," Ellie said, breathing heavily. Juno, remaining calm, replied, "You're doing great, Ellie. Just stay patient." Ellie's hands now gripped the steering wheel with newfound confidence. With skillful maneuvers, she guided the plane through the valley. Once they cleared the valley, Ellie let out a deep sigh of relief and turned to Juno. "We did it! We got through such a difficult passage," she exclaimed joyfully. Juno smiled. "Yes, Ellie. Challenges like these bring out our courage." As they neared the race's final stretch, the sky suddenly turned grey. Massive storm clouds loomed ahead, lightning illuminating their swirling forms like a giant dragon in the sky. Ellie swallowed hard at the sight. "This is really terrifying. What if our plane gets damaged?" she asked. Juno looked at Ellie and said, "A storm can seem like a great trial, but it often hides a calm path within. When we enter the clouds, I'll guide you. Just listen to me." Ellie nodded and took another deep breath. "Okay, Juno, I trust you." As Ellie steered her plane into the storm clouds, everything around them suddenly turned dark. Lightning flashed across the sky, and the wind tossed the plane around like a toy. Ellie gripped the steering wheel tightly, but the wind's force continued to challenge her control. "Ellie, stay calm. Pay attention to the wind's direction. Find the gaps between the clouds and guide us through them," Juno said, flapping her wings excitedly. Ellie followed Juno's instructions carefully, maneuvering the plane through the turbulent clouds. She managed to find a path, but suddenly a burst of turbulence pushed the plane downward. "Ellie, stabilize the plane. Tilt the wings slightly to the left," Juno shouted. Ellie quickly adjusted the steering wheel, pulling the plane out of the dive. Her heart was racing, but her face showed determination. "This storm won't beat us," she shouted. When they reached the storm's most intense area, Ellie focused on the sound of the wind. "Juno, do you feel that? The wind is starting to calm," she said. Juno checked the map and nodded. "Yes, Ellie. There are forested hills below, and the storm weakens here. Let's go full speed ahead. Ellie pushed the throttle to full power, and they soared through the clouds. Suddenly, the storm broke apart, and sunlight bathed everything in golden light. The sky returned to its bright blue, and Ellie and Juno both let out a deep breath. "We did it! We made it through the storm!" Ellie exclaimed, her eyes shining with joy. When they landed on the race's final stretch, cheers erupted from the crowd. They had completed the course in the shortest time. Other pilots had slowed down in the narrow valley and lost significant time navigating around the storm clouds. Ellie and Juno not only won the race but also strengthened their incredible bond of friendship. As their reward, they received the first-place medal. Looking at the shimmering medal around her neck, Ellie's heart filled with happiness. "Juno, I couldn't have done this without you." "You're amazing," she said. Juno smiled warmly and replied, "Ellie, this was a team effort. Your courage made everything possible." As the race champions, they earned the right to paint golden stars on the tips of the plane's wings. Turning to Juno, Ellie said, "These stars will symbolize our success and the power of our friendship." Juno smiled and added, "And every time we see them, we'll remember this adventure." The next day, Ellie and Juno soared joyfully through the sky. The warm afternoon sun, slowly making its way to the horizon, scattered golden rays across the heavens. Ellie and Juno glided among the clouds in their plane, its wings adorned with shimmering golden stars. The wind hummed a sweet melody in their ears. Taking a deep breath as she gazed into the endless expanse of the sky, Ellie said, "Juno, this was my dream. But it wouldn't have been this wonderful without you." Juno flapped her wings lightly and replied, "Ellie, friendship turns every dream into reality." Below them, the kingdom looked like a tiny toy city. As their plane descended closer to the meadows, children waved their hands enthusiastically. Ellie gently turned the plane's steering wheel, performing an elegant loop in the sky, greeting the children as their joyful cheers echoed below. Looking at the golden stars on the wings, Ellie turned to Juno. "These stars aren't just a prize. Every time I see them, they'll remind me of the strength of friendship," she said. Juno smiled warmly, "And every time we take to the skies, these stars will shine our story brightly." As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Ellie and Juno gently ascended, disappearing into the clouds. Ellie felt a deep sense of peace within her. "Juno, maybe one day we'll enter another race. Or perhaps we'll write more sky-high adventures," she said. Juno nodded. "Who knows, Ellie? The sky is vast and full of adventures. There's always a place for us up here." As the stars began to sparkle one by one through the clouds, the wind carried their laughter across distant lands. Who knows? Perhaps in another place, another pilot would hear that laughter and be inspired to write their own story. And so, Ellie and Juno's friendship continued to shine like the stars in the sky. Their story, a reminder of how courage and friendship can transcend any boundary, was passed down from generation to generation.